What's going on, everybody? Super Milesio here. You guys asked for it. It's time for another logic breakdown session. This time we will be delving into my latest arrangement, the 12 Days of Christmas. If you haven't heard it, link will be in the description. Check it out, it's a wild ride. And if you haven't checked out my previous logic breakdown session over a thing called Love, you can also check that out in the same location. You guys know how it works. And I'm not going to take up any more of your time with pointless chatter. Let's get into the meat and taters of this arrangement. And with that, here we are in logic. This is the session in all of its glory. So, again, just a basic overview of this first, just like always. Let's go over how many regions are in this project. 540. So, I mean, it's not breaking any records, but it's still a fair amount, especially considering that some of these are quite a bit longer. So, what was my main... Well, okay, how did this even come about? So, this came out on Christmas. Like, this was probably the latest I could have gotten away with releasing a Christmas arrangement. And I had the idea for this, like, at the last minute, about 10 days before Christmas itself, and I was like, yeah, you know what I should do? I really did not want to wait on this. I was going to save it for next Christmas, but I simply could not contain my excitement for this. And my basic concept for this was that we go through the 12 days of Christmas, and every day it gets just a little crazier. I did not get that from anyone else. I just came up with it on my own. It turns out great minds think alike, I guess. We're going to do kind of the same thing we did last time. We're just going to go straight through. I'm going to mention specific things, but this time we have my trusty electric keyboard to help me out. And this video is not sponsored by, but greatly appreciated by, sparkling water. This one is cranberry citrus. So we start about as simple as you can possibly get, just one voice. And here we are.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree.
That's how the song goes. You guys all know it, I hope. And what key are we in? We are in the key of E. Now this song kind of goes all over the place as far as key signature goes, and there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'll get into all of the changes and why I did what I did. But the key of E was kind of a good starting point for me, just because it's kind of on the precipice of just... It's bright. It's almost unstable to me how bright it is, but I figured in this context it would work pretty well. And of course we build upon that. I figured it was a good launching pad for some of the keys that I wanted to get into later on, and I knew that. And the illusion that I wanted to create was that there were like exactly as many people as there were days. Now that's not, of course, always the case, because when we get into the second day here, there's actually 5 tracks going. But there's only 2 separate parts, and so that creates the illusion. But I did want it to just feel a little bit fuller, and so we have...
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me...
That little harmony there. Third, same deal, except now there's just 7 tracks, but 3 parts.
On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me...
Nothing too complicated yet. Everyone's still unison as far as rhythm goes. Everyone's singing the same stuff like that.
3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge.
Now this is the first part. I kind of was debating on what harmony to do here. I could have done a major 7th sort of thing, but
Doves and a partridge.
that note, and a partridge.
Doves and 3 French hens, doves and a partridge.
That D natural is the dominant 7 in the key of E, and I was debating on whether to do the major 7th, like something like this. If we do that real quick, this is what it sounds like.
Turtle doves and a partridge.
Like
Partridge.
You hear that?
Partridge.
You get that nice clash, and that would have been another good option, but I was like, no, I think this needs just that little dark, feeling that you get.
Hens, 2 turtle doves and a partridge.
From that little dominant 7 in there. So just
In a
a
pear
fun little thing
tree.
there. And here we go. So 4th day is really kind of where it all goes down. So this is where we add our bass track. Our bass tracks, our bass, actual bass section here is the blue. And we start doing one of my favorite things. It's just basically like the alternating parts. I don't really know how to describe it, but this is what it sounds like. So, yeah, I mean, I guess arpeggios, but like in dooms. I like that. So, bass part, we just have... Get pretty down there. Wow. Nice. So, and then up here we have, whoopsies. So yeah, I got some interesting little chords there, and I that was just sort of trial and error. I was like, I knew basically what I wanted to do, but I decided to do like, that's like a major seventh chord. That's a regular, but with the ninth in there. So
French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
And then this is a pretty. This is a nice full chord. That's what I wanted to do. We got that that movement there, and here was the biggest challenge in this song. Well, one of the biggest challenges. There's a lot of repetition, right? Because each verse goes through all that stuff, and adds on to it. But you're gonna, these bottom ones, the 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle, whatever it is, you're gonna be singing that part a lot. So the biggest challenge was coming up with a way to make each one a little different, or completely different. And so hopefully I achieved that. I think I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think each one is unique.
In a pear tree.
Okay. And then on the 5th day, we will go on. And of course, each verse gets challenging because look, we're already on the 5th, which is like almost the halfway point, but it's clearly not the halfway point because each verse gets longer and longer and more challenging, obviously. But that was kind of, I'm like, oh, I'm already on the 5th. But no, you're not even close, man.
On the 5th day of Christmas.
So just got a little, I don't know, like on the 5th, and then this sort of affirms that, yeah, on the 5th.
On the 5th. On the 5th.
On the 5th.
On the 5th. On the 5th. My true love gave me 5 golden rings.
So this is interesting here. This was a decision I wasn't too sure about. So this doesn't quite sound like you want it to.
True love gave me 5 golden rings.
So we resolved to sort of this, you might not expect it. Like since we're in E, you want that chord to be, nice, strong, like a B major sort of thing, right? But we don't have that. What we have, since we have an E in the bass, which is our home key, but that's not what you really expect from that chord. And I did that for a reason, and you'll hear that later on, but I didn't make that quite as epic as you might want in the 5 golden rings. But that's also because there's so many 5 golden rings that you got to save some of that for later, and that's what I was trying to do.
4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves.
Yeah, okay, so I kind of like that. So here we have, again, this is what I was saying before, is where it's kind of a magical moment when every part, or almost every part, is singing the same words. And that comes in with 2 turtle doves. See if you can hear. So.
2 turtle doves.
Right? So we just have the oohs here, which some pretty got nice chords here. So we have 4 calling birds, so whatever is going on there. And then on the 2 turtle doves is where that's kind of like your
2 turtle doves.
That's your big moment here. And this is probably now a good time to mention what's happening with the bass, because I actually did get a comment about this on a different arrangement of mine, the Jingle Bells video, which you should also check out if you're interested in. That would be great. That would make me very happy. Somebody asked how I sort of achieve the bass parts that I am able to achieve, or just the sound from the bass. And I've gathered a lot from listening to and watching Jacob Collier's videos on with this style of video, and I can just go ahead and go through real quick what exact filters I put on my bass tracks and just how I go about doing all that. Nothing too crazy. We're just filtering out some of the really just low unnecessary sounds, but that bottom range just sort of boosted a little bit. Within Logic, I just use the regular compressor. The only thing that's different about this is I use a pedal that comes with Logic called Bodybuilder. And what this does is that it sort of just, for me, it beefs it up a little bit. And this is just the first step here, but I can show you again what that sort of sounds like. So, okay.
So this is the regular track, okay?
So you can see I'm even in this like bottom range here. And see if you can hear a slight difference when I switch to the bass. So you're gonna hear just a little bit more beef down there. And if you're a fan of that, I hope you can hear that, because it's you know, it's pretty distinct in my mind. Then this is one that I recently got into, which I really, really enjoy. In, I believe it was Jacob's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, he mentioned this plugin that he uses, as he would call it, Little Alta Boy. And it's from Sound Toys. And I can also leave a link in the description to sort of their this plugin on their website. But it basically allows you to do a really nice octaver. Like the one I was using before is built into Logic. It's not great. I'm going to be real frank with you. It's not the best that I've heard. But I can show you what this sounds like too. So this is just your regular bass, right? And this is octaver.
Wow.
But, okay, let me go off that. When you play it alongside, so basically what I do is I either just record a whole nother track for the octaver part, or I just duplicate one of these lines and just, like, you know, drag and drop it down also, so it's down there as well. And what we get here, hopefully you can hear this. So you can hear that just little hint of extra, just, again, it's more of a felt, not heard sort of thing. Sometimes it is heard. You do want it to be heard. I try to make it obvious, but most of the time, see if I mute this, this is what it sounds like. And then, now with it. Yeah.
Two turtle doves.
Ooh, and right there especially, it's almost like, I don't know how to describe, it's just gravelly and it's thick and it's rich, and I love it. And so, especially in this part here,
Two turtle doves.
you just get that nice thickness down in the bottom register. I'm going to stop saying words like that very, very soon. But that's the only way I can think to get my point across, right? And I won't spend too much more time on that, but I just want to go through that real quick, because that is a good question that somebody gave me. And that's pretty consistent throughout. I just had like a little sprinkling of the octaver down in there. Makes everything all right. So let's go on. So,
Doves in a partridge in a pear tree.
aha, what did I do here? What in the name of Neptune? So,
Doves in a partridge in a pear tree.
what are we doing now? We're in a C chord. How did that happen? And why? So,
Tree.
so basically,
Doves in a partridge in a pear tree.
so you expect, or the bass, you know,
In a partridge in a pear tree.
yeah, so it goes down to the C. You'd expect it to be like, and a partridge in a pear tree, or something like that. We're going to end on that E, but instead, I go all the way down to the C.
In a partridge in a pear tree.
And the reason I did that was because we are now
The sixth day
in the key of F. So basically we're going up a half step. And again, this is sort of where my, where my ability to explain exactly why I did what I did sort of falls short. Because I couldn't exactly tell you the theory behind, what this is, what I did here. But all I need to know is that it sounds cool to me. It sounds good to me. And I know that a C chord is a good place to get to F2, because it's the fifth. It's the dominant chord in the key of F, and so that's a good sort of launch pad to F.
On the sixth day of
Nice. And then I sort of just heard it in my head what the bass part needed to do to get to a C chord.
Doves in a partridge in a pear tree.
And then the rest of the parts sort of molded their way around that. That's kind of how a lot of my arranging works. I know what the melody is going to do, and the thing that I like about this is that the melody is doing the exact same thing. It doesn't change. So if you're just listening to the melody, you wouldn't know that we were doing
Turtle
anything
doves
weird.
in a partridge in a pear tree.
That's just the same, except for one thing. The E, the tree. Can
Tree.
you hear that? Since we're in C now, that's justly tuned. That's a little flat. So that's the only thing you'd be able to hear based on just the melody.
In a pear tree.
It's justly tuned, just like that. And I like that. I like when you can do things that don't change the melody, but do funny things underneath the melody that can completely change the outcome, and that's what I did here. So now we are in F, and since we're on the 6th day, we are reaching another one of my little tricks that I put in here, is that not every day, so a horn, but most of the days have a time signature that either directly corresponds to the day or is pretty close. So here we're in 6/8.
6th day of Christmas, my true love gave me.
Little on the nose, but what are you gonna do? I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Christmas, my true love gave me 6 geese a laying.
I'm gonna stop right there. Yeah, again, this is just some. So I'm dividing it into subdivisions of. But then we also have ones up here that are dividing it differently. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is dividing it into 3. This is dividing it into. Then we have that little movement here. So that's a. And it comes on 6 geese a laying. So you'll notice I slightly modify the words here to fit the time signature. So instead of my true love gave to me, I just say gave me because that actually fits in the context of
6th day of Christmas, my true love gave me 6 geese a laying in 5.
So it was a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out exactly how to sing each verse in the melody to fit the time signature, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned
6th
out.
day of Christmas, my true love gave me.
So you get the idea on that. This 5 golden rings is probably one of my favorite parts just in the whole arrangement. I like the way it sounds for some reason. And this is what I was saying. This is kind of what you were waiting for. This is what you wanted in the last 5 golden rings, and now you get it.
In 5 golden rings.
We resolve to that nice big C major triad, which is the dominant chord in the key that we're in, which is what you expect from that. So
In 5 golden rings.
let me turn off the metronome. And there's also just a little extra thing here. There's some. I really like what's going on in the rhythm here because.
In 5 golden rings.
I'm gonna turn it back on real quick.
5 golden rings.
So you have sort of like this
golden rings.
syncopated thing here,
5 golden rings.
and down here it's just straight,
5 golden rings. 5 golden rings.
And so when you match those up, it's just a little off, but I like the way it sort of.
5 golden rings.
So, if you were hearing something there, that is what it is. Probably my favorite part of this chord is this here.
5
Golden rings. I really like that.
5 gold.
That's that B there.
5 golden rings.
So yeah, there we go. And then you have this much smaller little part here, and this is again what I was saying with trying to mix up this whole these last parts.
4 calling birds, 2 turtle
So
doves.
you have this call and response, and it's on different sides of your ear. So this is
4 calling birds,
on this side, I think.
4 calling birds.
And then 3 French hens.
3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
All right, so here's another funny thing here, and I do like this a lot too. So
2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. 7
what do we just do there? Well, I hope you hear that now we are in the key of G.
day of Christmas.
But how did we get there? So this, rather than being up a half step, is up a whole step. And what I did to do that is we did this little thing
In a
here.
pear tree. 7
So let's go to the melody first. Hear what we're doing here. So just take a listen to this.
and a partridge in a pear tree.
So we just climb our way up
In a pear
chromatically.
tree.
And now you listen to the bass, which goes along with that.
Turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Nice. So basically what this is a 2-5-1, right? And that's like one of the most standard jazz progressions there that you learn. But the thing is, and this is what I want to really drill home here, this is like my bottom line, my main point. I didn't even think of it that way, like until later on. I didn't even really realize what I was doing, that it was a 2-5-1, until I listened back and I was like, oh, that's what that is. That's interesting. And I know what it is. It's just like I don't think of those things when I'm making these decisions. My ears heard these things so many times that I just knew that if I was going to do that in the melody, that the bass,
In a pear tree.
that would have been a good way to do it. And then the rest
In a
sort of
pear
just
tree.
fell into place after that. And then I listened back. I was like, oh, I'm going from the A minor to the D major back to G. That's a 2-5-1. And basically how I did that was you expect the bass to go down to that F, right?
In a pear tree.
You expect the bass to be tree, but it's not. It's tree. So basically, here, let me go to my piano and show you. But instead it's, and then we go. So now we're in G. All of these decisions are based on what my ear hears, sort of what my image in my head is, and a lot of times what emotion I want to convey. And the reason I change keys a lot of times too is also for that reason. I don't know, and not everybody can differentiate between keys in that way. And if they can, it's more of a subconscious thing. They can't necessarily tell you exactly how a specific key makes them feel. But to me, going from E and then to F and then to G, it's almost like a flip-flop, and you land in this place, and G is kind of like one step down from C, as far as just C is like sort of just C is where everything is just nice and sturdy and comfortable, and you really can't go wrong. And this is funny, like the way I'm talking about this, as if each key is inherently different, and they might not be to you, but to me they are. And there's some things that I just can't do the way I want in a key like C. But we're in G now, which has one sharp and sort of just brightens everything else up, just sort of lifts up your palette a little bit. And now we're in G. So, yeah.
My true love
That's all you need to
gave to me.
The melody and the accompaniment are not quite in line.
My true love gave to me.
And that's sort of just another little thing I wanted to do there. So now we are in 7/8, which I've never done anything in 7/8 before, so it's kind of a interesting experience to figure out how to do all this. But
7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
so
My true love.
what we're doing kind of here is like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 and that's the best way I could think to do that. And then, but these guys are going a little bit different. It's
True love gave to me.
so, and that just sort of creates this little,
Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
and then you're finally together at the to me, and that's sort of what you've been waiting for. You're like, oh, we're off, we need to get back together, and then to me
Gave to me.
is all together. Nice.
True love gave to me. 7th.
And that's why we go back G down to the G, feel nice and sturdy and
Me.
safe.
7 swans are swimming, 6 geese are laying, and 5 golden
Ooh,
rings.
that's different. All right, so what's happening here? So you expect it to go,
And 5 golden rings.
right? 5 golden rings. But instead we go 5 golden rings. So it's basically,
5 golden rings.
that's all there is to it. And again, that was just something I heard in my head. I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing here. I know it's flat, but it doesn't matter because I heard it and I was like, that would be cool, that would be fun. And so so the bass follows that.
5 golden rings.
And then everything else falls into place. As such, we have
5 golden rings.
Isn't that nice?
Golden rings.
And I guess now is a good time to note,
Rings.
again, making each one of these sound a little bit different. So what's the difference here, I guess, is besides, that part, but it's specifically the last chord, rings.
Rings. Rings.
It's always a struggle to me not to put all the notes, just all of the notes in a chord, because I have to use them sparingly sometimes. I just want to cram everything into that one chord and just go with it. But sometimes you don't want everything in there. Like here we do have the major seventh. You might not always want that in there, but you hear that we have the whoa.
Rings. Rings.
I think it's
Rings.
no, that's not it. That's not it either. Where is it? Is it up here? There it is. So that's competing with sort of the melody here, which is.
Golden rings.
Oh, that's not the. I'm stupid. But yeah. So we do have that major seventh here, and the major seventh has a very specific, I guess, feeling in my head, and it depending on what emotion I want to convey or how I want to make you feel when you land on that chord. I might not put the seventh in there, the sixth too. So there's a lot of stuff, I land on the chord and I just add about as much as I can think to add. And then I'm like, I don't want that in there. I can take it out. And I can do that later. I can do that in the moment. But, these decisions are not, it all starts with, well, I guess my heart and then my ear. And then my head. My head is kind of the last step. I'm like, okay, do I,
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
Yeah, this
4 calling birds. 3.
This part's worth mentioning. Do you hear that? Do you hear what I hear? You better. So,
4 calling birds.
okay. Well, that's not what I had in mind. This is the melody. Okay.
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
Again, melody is the exact same, and that's pretty consistent throughout. The melody, with few exceptions, the melody is going to stay sort of, what you'd expect normal. As far as notes go, rhythm might differ, but and then everything underneath is just going to be going all over the place, and you just got to keep up with it. So
4 calling birds.
that's the same, but I wanted to do this sort of weird, like almost falling down the stairs, sort of a feel, like sort of a chromatic weird.
4 calling birds. 3.
Right.
4 calling birds. 3.
So now we're in sort of this C sort of thing, but we also have this.
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
So it sort of sounds a little weird because we have that that E flat, which makes it a C minor. But here's what you might not have exactly heard.
4 calling birds.
Yeah, you hear that?
4 calling birds.
That is our good old friend, the microtone.
4 calling birds.
Or I guess many of our friends.
4 calling birds.
You can see exactly what's going on. And again, this is not like I didn't necessarily I just have flex enabled so that I can make adjustments if I need to, but I just actually sang this just straight up. I sang
4 calling birds.
4 calling birds. I knew, and again, this is not like I did not think in this part. So basically I had this so far.
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
I was like, that needs something else. It needs something a little higher. It needs to start.
4.
I wanted to start there, and I wanted to land on.
4 calling birds. 3. Birds. 3.
So I want to go from which is just a whole step.
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
But there's not enough semitones in between to do the same chromatic thing. And so I just thought in my head, well, I mean, screw semitones. Let's do microtones. 4 calling birds. And that's exactly what I did.
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3.
And it starts a little later too. So here we have
Rings. 4 calling birds. 3. 4 calling.
And then this one comes in later. So 4 and then 4.
4 calling birds.
Right. And so that's sort of what Jacob was saying, and I didn't understand it at the time, but like, I don't set out to create a microtonal thing there. It's just, you know, semitones are actually beginning to limit what I want to do. And so if that's the case, you can use a microtone. You totally can. And if that's not the case yet, if you've never like come across a situation where you need to do that or you feel like you want to do that, then you don't need to shoehorn it in. I mean, you know, it's fun to do that, I guess. You know, you're like, oh, I did a microtone, look at that. But this wasn't exactly me shoehorning it in. I just legitimately felt the need for it, which I think is very cool. And that's kind of like the first example that that's happened to me. So yeah, that's what we ended up with.
Four calling birds, three French hens.
This is another fun part too. I wanted to play around with the numbers here, and so maybe you can hear, but oops. So in the melody, we just have three French hens holding out.
Three French hens.
And here we have a bunch of numbers that are counting down.
Seven.
Where is it?
Seven.
So we do,
Seven. Two.
and I counted down from 8 so that we'd reach 2
Two turtle doves.
at about the same time.
Two turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Pretty cool. And we have another cool little descent here. So again, melody's just the same. Partridge in a pear tree. You guys have heard that a billion times. But here we have
Partridge in a pear tree.
nice. So here we just have in a pear tree, I think.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Yep. And here we have.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Okay. Now we get into some excitement here. So we're in G right now. We've been in G since we changed from F. We've been in G for a little bit. Now we are going into the key of A. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys know that's where we're going. And again, A is sort of a step down from E. It's very bright. When I hear A, it's like a celebration. It's like rejoicing. Like there's a song Gloria in Excelsior. I mean, you might have heard it. It's on my channel. Also, my choir sang it. And that arrangement is in A, and that's sort of like the thing that I think of when I think of A. Like just the whole feeling of that song. It's like rejoicing. I don't know why, but it's like I can't help but think of that when I hear the key of A. I don't know how to describe these things, but A is a really nice key. I'll shut up about that, all right? You get it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And now we're in A. That was pretty cool. I do really like that. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but so we're in G, and now I do this E.
1,
So we start with the 1. So and of course E is sort of the 5 of A, which makes this sort of work. So we're creating an E.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We're creating this dominant 7 thing with a bunch of other stuff in it.
7, 8.
And I can actually show you. This is going to be this is going to be fun. So I do these things. I had this idea for the dominant chord, but I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it to play out. And so I go through, and let's see if this is the right one. That's not the right one. I believe this is it. Yep. So I went over to my piano, and again, my piano proficiency is questionable. I can play around just fine, and I love playing on the piano. It's a lot of fun to explore new things, but I'm by no means anything to write home about. But I just went through and I thought of that chord, and then I just transported it right in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And that's cool because we're counting upward, and it's sort of just growing and growing and growing into 8.
6, 7, 8.
And we have 2 at the same time, so we like 1 I think is 2 notes, but then we're just adding, but then 6 and 7 I really like. So we have 6 and 7, 7. Yeah. But yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 6, 7, and you hear that. And we're sort of adding vibrato too, which is another little trick I like to do. But anyways, and yeah, we just really land hard. You're like, yes, we're here. We meant to be here. We're absolutely here. And I think I had the 5th doing that too. Up here somewhere probably. Yeah. Nice. And now we're in 8th.
Eighth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Yeah, that's another little trick. So, this is sort of split into two parts on opposite sides of your ear to create this funky little illusion.
My love to me.
So,
My love to me.
so you hear half the parts are singing some of the words, and then the other half is singing the other words, if that makes sense.
Day of Christmas,
My
true
love
gave
to
me.
me.
So,
Day
yeah,
of Christmas,
My
true
love
gave
to
me.
me.
it's a little weird when you first hear it, but then you realize that you're getting all the words. It's just sort of bouncing back and forth.
Day
So,
of Christmas,
My
true
love
gave
to me.
and then there are some lines, I believe, that are just singing it straight through, just to make sure that you know what's happening.
Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Yeah, but then you have all this like,
Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
yeah. So that's what's happening here. Then
Maids are milking, seven swans are swimming, six geese are laying. Five golden rings.
what's going on here? Well, if you can hear in there, this is like sort of something that I like to do. I did it a lot in my first arrangement ever. The Superstar, like Mario song. My mouth trumpet. I like doing it. It's pretty fun. And so we have that going in the background, and just here we have this, and it falls off. Because that's just nature.
Geese are laying. Five golden rings. Five golden rings.
Yeah, you can't have all the 5 golden rings be big and spectacular. You know, come on. So like this 5 golden rings is like, I don't know if I belong here. Let me just like sort of sneak in there,
Five golden rings.
right? You don't have to steal the spotlight every time. 5 golden rings, all right? Chill out. So,
Geese are laying. Five golden rings. Four golden.
oh, now we've gone up a half step,
Seven swans are swimming, six geese are laying.
and now we're
Calling birds, three French hens, two turtle doves.
and same mouth trumpet here. Oh look, okay, so you went up a half step, so you expect now we're in a different key, right?
Swans are swimming, six geese are laying.
So right now we're in,
Seven swans are swimming, six geese are laying.
we're still in A, now we go,
Four calling birds, three.
now you think we're in B flat, right? So you think we're gonna go back to like, da, 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 da. You think we're gonna be in B flat,
Four calling birds, three French hens, two turtle doves and a partridge.
but we're not, because,
Doves and a partridge
you hear that?
and a partridge.
So you expect,
Turtle doves and a
and you expected and a partridge in a pear tree. Now we're in B flat, but we go and a partridge in a pear tree. So we just go up chromatically rather than what you'd expect in the melody, and so we just return back to where we were. A.
two turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah, we go up a half step. You're like, oh, we're in B flat now. Cool. Psych.
Four calling birds, three French hens, two turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Right. So we're still in A. So don't panic. We're still in A. I'm not going to talk about another key for 5 minutes.
On the ninth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
So we're just starting. We're a little simple here, but I do like the harmonies that are happening.
On the ninth day of Christmas.
So the melody is now super low. It's like the lowest thing, I think.
On the ninth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Yep. And then over here we just have the.
On the ninth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. 9 ladies dancing, maids are milking, swans are swimming, geese.
Interesting. So
9 ladies dancing, maids.
so we have this sort of like, oh, I don't know where we're going. This is a little weird. Just this climb up. But what was I saying? Here we have sort of the it's like each part can't wait for the other one to finish, so they all come in like sort of in this call and response thing.
9 ladies dancing, maids are milking, swans are swimming.
Yep. And that was happening a little before, but now we have it so doom 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 doom. They don't wait. It's just like, 9
ladies dancing, maids are
7
milking, swans are swimming,
6.
geese and 5.
Ooh, whoa, what happened there?
Swimming, geese and 5.
And again, why did I choose to do this? I think the reason for that was
Geese and 5.
I knew I wanted to land on this.
And 5 golden rings.
And now look at where we are.
French.
We're kind of back in we're just back in the same spot. But I knew I wanted... And I actually did play through this on my phone too. This is another thing that Jacob does a lot. I think sort of this pyramid sort of thing. He does another thing that he calls a pyramid. This isn't exactly it, but, you know, each part sustaining its note. So we have, you know...
5 gold.
And then we add just more and more.
5.
And eventually we just...
5.
Yep. And I played through this too. Again, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Yep. So anyways, yeah, just me like fiddling around on the piano, actually something actually stuck. I was like, that's nice, let me do that. And that's what we end up with.
5 golden rings. 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves,
So that's another fun little thing.
2 turtle doves.
So rather than
Hens, 2 turtle doves. It's 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves.
2 turtle doves, I go doves.
2 turtle doves.
So it's like a
Hens, 2 turtle doves. 2 turtle doves.
It's like a little A flat major thing. Or it's G sharp in this context, but who cares? So it's a minor third. Who cares? Again, I don't think about all these things. I just do it, and it's like
2 turtle doves and a
It's nice.
partridge in a pear tree. On the 10th day of Christmas,
Ooh.
my true love gave.
So now we're really getting into it. Sort of, it's the same with the ninth. It's sort of unison.
On the 10th day.
And now we have this octaver, which is going strong. Now I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this, like, whoa, what is that down there? It's like super...
On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Yeah, you hear that? It's like, I want you to know that there's something
On
down
the
there.
10th day of Christmas, my true
It's
love
just a little heavier. It's like, yeah, we're doing this.
gave to me. 10 lords.
Okay, and here we go. On the ultimate, just, I mean, look.
10 lords are leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8
Oh, where are we
maids are
going? I'm
milking,
scared.
7 swans are
I'm really
swimming,
scared.
6 geese are laying, 5 golden rings.
And there we go. Now, I hope you heard this. There are some comments on this on my YouTube where I explained what was happening here. But we are officially in.
Swans are laying, 5 golden rings. 5 golden rings. 4 calling birds.
There is no real note that exists on your piano that matches what key we're in because we are in the key, you guessed it, of D half sharp. So,
5 golden rings.
again, I ran out of ideas for how to make this new and interesting using the 12 major keys that I had access to. So, why not just break through that limitation and explore some microtonal keys?
10 lords are leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids are milking, 7 swans are swimming, 6 geese.
So if you hear in here, we're sort of just doing this really tense, like, oh, I don't know where we're going, just rise here. I can play exactly what's going on.
On the 10th day.
That's okay, maybe a little.
10 lords are leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids are milking, 7 swans are swimming, 6 geese are laying.
And we actually sort of slowly creep into a microtonal world. So we start out normal, just
Lords are leaping, 9
This
ladies
is all-
dancing, 8 maids are
this is all equally tempered A equals 440 stuff. But towards the end, like
laying,
geese are laying
laying, geese are laying.
is a little off, or off in terms of, you know, normal tuning. Yeah, you can see the flex isn't perfect again because I don't like auto tune everything. But it's not really quite what I wanted. Down here, geese a laying, you can see is like not so. Basically, when it's in line with these things,
6 geese are laying.
you can see it's in between the two. Like each of these are like bars here. It represents a note, and so if it's right on it, that means it's in tune. But see, it's kind of in between. So we're slowly creeping into this microtonal world, and on 6 geese a laying, you can particularly hear. We're not quite where I thought
Maids
we
are
were
milking,
gonna
7
be.
swans are swimming, 6
Oh no!
geese are laying, 5 golden rings.
And here we are. That's just a massive, I guess, A half sharp chord. It's not B flat.
5 golden rings.
Yeah, here we go.
5 golden rings. 5 golden rings.
This is something that he,
5 golden.
it's like a round. So right here we have,
5 golden rings.
and then here we add another one. So,
5 golden rings.
and then we add the third one. So it's like a, yeah.
5 golden rings.
And you can barely hear that in there, like with everything, but it's sort of just this extra little movement up top that just gives you that sense of descent into this final just epiphany of. Ah.
5 golden rings. 4 calling birds.
So I like starting out with this,
4
with the 4, just with only that, just in case you were unsure that we're in a microtonal key. It's like,
4
you hear 4, which is like not,
4
it's not either one of those.
4
It is in between.
4 calling birds.
So like that should tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, we are not in a key that you are familiar with.
And a partridge in a pear.
Can you hear that? So we have and a partridge in a pear tree, just as you would expect, but you know, we skipped straight from 4 calling birds to the partridge. What? You can't skip all those other birds. What are we gonna do without the 3 French hens and the? I mean, that's not enough birds for anyone.
3 French hens.
Well, there they are.
2 turtle doves.
So they're sort of in the background there. So we cover the 3 French hens and 2 turtle doves while we're going through the partridge.
And a partridge.
Just a little decoration.
in a pear.
And I did that for 2 reasons. One, it's interesting and it's fun, and you know, it adds a little bit of different stuff. But also, I did not want to do something separate for all of them, and I just wanted to get it over with.
And
So
a partridge
can't blame me. I was on a strict deadline, my friends.
in a pear.
This. Okay. Listen to what's going on here. Yeah, so if you were not somehow still unaware that we were in a very strange world, listening. Ooh, now if you're not trained to this sort of thing, and I mean that in like, not a condescending way, like if you have not like listened to a lot of microtonal stuff, you probably won't like it very much, to be honest with you. It took me a little bit to warm up to it. It's something just so that if you've been trained your whole life in equal temperament or in A = 440, hearing anything other than that is going to be a bit of shock to your ear at first. And so when you hear this, like, you might cringe. You're like, oh, what the heck is that? Like, it doesn't sound, it's funky. Now, since I've listened to so much microtonal stuff, particularly from Jacob Collier, I listen to that and like, oh, that is so cool. Like, and that's something I can only achieve through this stuff. Like, what's happening here is we are going back to A = 440. So it's just a kind of, it's like a melt. We're just melting and we're descending a little bit. I didn't want like a sort of, almost like the Bleak Midwinter, if you've ever heard Jacob Collier's cover of In the Bleak Midwinter. When he goes back, it's sort of this top note that sort of just smoothly melts into it. I want it to be sort of just this, just now we're there. And now we're in the key of D. So one of my favorites is this one here, because, no, not that one. Because we're singing a very similar note, so okay. We're singing, first we sing, and then it's so close, but it's different enough to see. This is like, again, now it's just half key, and it's still flat because it's the third of D. And so we didn't change that much. So we start like in between the two, and then we go here, and it's still a little flatter because of the just intonation, but you hear that it's a little different, and I love how you can hear the oof. It's nice. And then the bass goes down into that D, so it just sinks down, and you know we're in the right spot. So yeah, all right. I'm done talking about that for now, but that's just like that's probably where you're definitely going to hear it the most, like our transition back into normal world.
On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave me.
So now we're in D because we committed to it. We did all that, and we got to stay in D now just for a little bit, I guess, right? And we're also in 11/8. How fun is that?
The 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave me.
And I don't know if you can hear this. It's pretty subtle, but I did a little 7/11 thing. At least I think that's how you do it. So I divided our 11/8 measure equally into seven parts, just to create I mean, hey, I just like, hey, that's gonna be fun. So. So. So we have 11/8 on the tick, but then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there we are in 6/8. And I only stayed in 11/8 for one measure, and then we just go to 6/8 because I wanted to maintain that feeling of like we're back in like an eighth note key. And we start out in 11/8, but then we just go to 6/8 because it made more sense with what I was doing. But yeah, so
11th day of Christmas, my true love gave.
So you can just hear that sort of like weirdness in the background, that rhythm. That's like, what is that? That's what it is. I tried to do a 7/11 thing there.
9
So then we have us sort of descending through all of them, one at a time. So the melody does every other day. So like,
pipers piping.
So it takes a little pause.
Gave me 11 pipers piping.
Pause.
9 ladies dancing.
Pause.
7 swans.
So we do every other day with the melody, just nice and strong in dead center. And then in the outer regions of your ears, we do the other days. So
Piping.
so it's just a little quieter. Again, it's like a call and response thing, and I just wanted to mix it up a little bit. So we have
Piping.
and since we just said piping, like 10 pipers or 11 pipers piping, I brought back the mouth trumpet just real quick. So yeah, and then on the outside we have these voices. And 10 lords are leaving.
9 ladies dancing.
And then in the bass, we just have this sort of these chords that are just affirming what's going on, just like this gradual rise. Pause. 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 And a partridge in a pear tree. All right, you get the idea. And then so we went through the leaping. Yeah, this is just voice.
Dancing. Maids of milking. 7
Yeah,
maids of milking.
a little interesting.
Maids of milking. 7 swans are swimming. 6 geese.
Kind of a thicker chord right there. It's nice.
a lay. 6 geese a lay. 6 geese a lay.
I just threw a bunch of notes in there, and they worked out.
5 golden rings. 4 calling birds. 3 French hens. 2 turtle doves and a
So
partridge.
it is kind of like, in the bass, you have this sort of
3 French hens. 2 turtle doves and a partridge.
so just sort of this like just sort of gradual rise, and then we're falling back down into the key that we want to go into. And here we are. We're almost here. We're almost on the 12th day. And we do another
3
little
French
2-5-1
hens,
sort of
2
thing.
turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 12th day.
Ooh, and now we're in C. And as I said about C before, like, the way I see it, this is where we've been wanting to go this whole time. This is home. This is like, okay, we're finally here. When you hear this, at least my idea was that when you hear this,
On the 12th day of Christmas,
you're like, oh yes, we're in C. This is where I'm comfortable. This is where I want it to be all along.
on the 12th day of Christmas.
And that's what I had in mind. I debated on whether or not to start the song in C. I was like, that seems like a good starting point, not too crazy. But then I was like, no, we like, if we end there, like we can start in E. That's weird, but like we can end here. And so I do another similar thing here, except it's a little different. We, instead of going like tree, because we're not going up a half step anymore. Since we're in D, we're going down.
A tree in a pear tree.
So this is where, yeah, and then the F in there, I like that.
On the 12th. On the 12th day.
Yeah, and then what's our bass doing? Yeah. So it's a,
On the pear tree. On the 12th.
so bass is a little interesting, but I like this, again, it's sort of that feel of just like,
Partridge in a pear tree. On the 12th day.
just like a swing. And then now we're back.
12th day of Christmas, my true love gave
We're not back, we're in C for the first time.
to me. 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10.
And then this, here we go. And again, it's all about the illusion. You're going to look at the tracks, and it's not exactly like... the illusion that I wanted to create was that we start with 12 singers, because we're on the 12th day, and we're adding one each time. And you can see that in the video. That's sort of what I had in mind. And every time we pass through a day, on the 12th day, that singer drops out. And so you keep dropping out, and eventually we're back to one singer. It was like, I mean, we've built ourselves up to this point, and we have this enormous 12 people singing at once, just huge and complicated and just, whoa. And then they slowly drop out, and we're just left with one where we started. And it's almost a little, it's bittersweet. It's like, we've been on this journey together, and now everyone's leaving, and we're just left with one person. But that's what I was going for, and that's what you're going to see here. So again, yeah, not exactly the same amount of tracks as singers, obviously, but that's the illusion. So
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 8
so nobody actually drops out, like, until
leaping, 9.
9 ladies dancing. So 12 through 9 is the exact same amount of singers. It's just I was singing quieter and quieter, so it sounded like they were dropping out. But nobody's actually dropping out
12th day
yet.
of Christmas, my true love
But in
gave
the
to
video,
me.
they are.
12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10
Drop.
lords a leaping, 9 ladies
And
dancing, 8
now somebody actually did stop. And then slowly, different tracks start to drop out.
maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying,
So we're just left with this nice and small, but still
5 golden rings,
still pretty nice,
4 calling birds, 3 French.
Now we're in unison. There's still 3 people, but we're in
Calling
unison.
birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves,
And now we're left with one.
and a partridge in a pear tree.
And I could have ended this just with a bang, or with a huge chord, or with some sort of, some shenanigans like that. But I was like, not every song has to end with a bang. And this one was one of them. I think this was how it was meant to be. And that's what I felt like from the very beginning. I was like, ooh, what if we started with 1 and then built our way up to 12 and then, like, worked our way back down to 1? And I hope I executed that in a way that pleased your ears, as it did mine.
Partridge in a pear tree. On the 12th day.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it. That's really all there is to this. And again, this was done on a pretty. I spent a lot of hours in the final few days of before Christmas. Just as soon as my winter break started, I was up here. I was up here for a long time, getting this done. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to go through each day. And the video also turned out pretty nicely. I like the way that turned out. So give it a listen in all of its glory. And if you haven't already, go definitely listen to that. And if you have, maybe go listen to it again with a lot of this stuff in mind and see if it, if you learn anything from it. I don't know. The bottom line I want to draw here is that you don't have to know what you're doing. Like, the lesson to take away here is that I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay? I'm just going to say it right now. And you don't have to either. If you listen to a lot, you're going to learn a lot just from that. And I guess it depends on what type of learner you are. I'm definitely a very auditory learner when it comes to music, and so I hear things and I learn these things and I can put them in here without even knowing theory-wise what they are. But figure out what works best for you, and don't judge your ideas before they even come into fruition. I think that's all I got to say. So, thank you for joining me on this. I hope it was enjoyable in some sense. It certainly was for me. And once again, get yourself some sparkling water and just have a good time. Let's have a good year, y'all. There's definitely more to come, and you'll see very soon. But for now, I leave you guys. Peace out.